Due to the immense popularity of my Halloween special last year for the DPX Hest, which is doing pretty well at 2,200 views almost a year later, I figured I'd review another knife no one has asked me for, or possibly gives a shit about, the Ruike P801, but with a Halloween theme. Pumpkin carving. Ruike is Fenix Flashlight's knife division. So let's look at those dimensions, like the overall length and weight. Blade size, cutting edge. Handle size, grip area. Spine thickness, handle thickness. And the tallness closed, and flipper protrusion. Fellow knife reviewer and Instagrammer Journey Windjunk was like, "Hey, I don't want this knife anymore. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Good." And I was like, "Awesome." So check out the description for a link to his website where it's pictures and text, which is great because video reviews are annoying, but you already knew that. The Ruike, now I think Ruike's another brand, Ruike, or however the hell you say it, features a nearly 3.5-inch blade with a flat grind and a drop point profile. Made from 14C28N. It has a stonewash finish. Blade centering is okay, but I think Journey Windjunk said he adjusted it, so expect it to be There's some widely spaced jimping with a good amount of edginess for traction. Not much of a ramp though. It's okay. It's not my favorite jimping. Spyderco's better on some of their knives. Deployment on this knife is nice and quick if you use the flipper stud because of its ball bearing system. Journey Windjunk, who owned this knife before me, said it gunked up pretty easy during very limited Instagram knife review stuff. Deployment for me is nice and quick enough. There's a little creak when I close it where the tang hits the frame lock. The thumb studs, let's call them mostly aesthetic. I mean, they're okay to use. The blade is slightly hard to deploy with them, and they don't act as blade stops. And as my mother used to say, they're kind of like hind tits on a bowl. Except for the one in the center. But the flipper tab works well, and it's jimp-free, which should please people who fidget with their knives more than use them, which is, of course, most of us nowadays. Although I will say long-term fidgeting can wear on your fingers. The stud isn't sharp, or the tab as regular knife people call it, but it has pronounced edges. The lock is that frame lock type, so that's cool, I guess. It ain't hard to close or undeploy, as knife experts usually say. It's not jimped either, but has some milling on the backside to help you close it and give it a little bit of edginess. Not sharpness, just a little edgy, like saying the word shit in a knife review. Detent to strong, as in, it can't be flinged open if you throw it downward in this standard YouTube knife reviewer test. So let's move on to some spine wax, another knife test that people like to look at. Whack, 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 fap, 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 fap. Okay, let's look at the handle. It fits in my hand well, without much finger crowding. It's nice and comfortable, due probably to its easy secondary bevel all the way around, which people like to talk about as a feature on a $400 Chris Reeve knife. You're like, well, they did it first. The handle is kind of thin in the overall thickness, so it's a nice slide in the pocket when closed. It's also an open back design with the lanyard hole. The blade edges and points aren't too close, so you shouldn't catch your fingers when it's closed on the blade anywhere. The pocket clip is a blue stainless steel one. I assume it's stainless steel. It feels like stainless steel. But it's stainless, springy, nice, and blue, which are 4 positive or neutral sounding adjectives. It's a deep carry and has a perfect amount of tension, at least for me. The right amount of give just to keep it in your pants. It ain't configurable. It's tip up, blade backward in my right pocket, which is ideal for deployment if you're right-handed. I wrote to Ruike and asked for an official statement on what left-handed people should do, and they said, tell them to suck it. True story. Okay, let's do a quick comparison. This looks a little like my Chris Reeve Sebenza 21, which is a very expensive knife. I do like the slightly larger proportions of the Sebenza. Plus it's got those famous tolerances. And let's look at the Paramilitary 2, the standard best knife you can get for the money. In a lot of these reviews, a lot of knife reviewers own this. It's a mid 3-inch blade range, better deployment than both knives. Other knives here, nice easy lock, better ergonomics. Of course, I'm sure there's an alternate view out there that says the Paramilitary 2 sucks and has the word fail in the title somewhere. So, all right, let's finish it. Journey Wind Junk didn't use the knife much, so it's pretty razor sharp still. He has other knives he likes better, and so do I. That said, this is a very solid $30 knife. It looks very similar to that Sanrenmu Sebenza clone I had, which they almost look like they're the same company, have very similar letterings on the blade. So I don't know if Sanrenmu makes stuff for Ruike or the other way around, but that's one thing to notice. The overall design and materials are better on the other knives I compared this to, the Sebenza and the Paramilitary 2. Better steel, longer lasting, but build quality is on par, meaning this knife is probably as likely to break or hold up to the same amount of abuse as those knives. It's not a crappy knife. Read Journey Wind Junk's review that delves a little deeper into it. Like the gunking up that could happen. If you like this review, subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, comment, the standard stuff. Also be sure to check out Journey Wind Junk's website for his great gear reviews, and thanks to him for sending me this. Thanks for watching.